Welcome back to the Marathon here on Shaw TV. This week's theme is fitness. That's why I'm a little more casual in my hoodie today. We're going to be talking about health and wellness and moving your body. So we're going to be chatting with Brent, who is a personal trainer in the Okanagan, as well as Rose, who is going to take us into her yoga studio. And we're going to find out also about how my husband Jeremy started doing yoga and how much it's helped him. We're going to end the episode with a very simple pad thai recipe. So a lot going on this week's episode of the Marathon. So how long have you been a trainer for?
I've been a trainer for about 9 years now.
Okay, so I'm sure you get asked a lot of the same questions, and I would guess one is how intimidating it is to come to the gym. Like, do you get a lot of people saying, like, I really want to work out, but I don't know where to start?
Definitely, all the time. And when people come to me with that concern, I think the biggest part of it is just a fear of the unknown when they're coming into the gym. And it's with anything, right? If I was to go to a car dealership, I have no idea about cars, so I'm intimidated when I go to a car dealership. So what would I do? I would probably do some research on that subject. And same would go with someone who's coming into the gym, maybe doing some research. And really the best thing that you can do, and I'm a little bit biased, of course, as a trainer, but would be to get yourself a personal trainer.
Right.
And I know a lot of people, when they think personal trainer, they think expensive, right? And it can be an expense, but you don't necessarily have to work with a trainer every single day either. You can just see a trainer once or twice just to kind of get you on the right track and build up a little bit of confidence so that you come into the gym and you have a bit of an idea on what you're doing.
Right. Another thing for me that I found before was I just got bored, you know, and I think your muscles get bored too, right?
Exactly, yeah, there's definitely truth to that. If you're doing the same thing day in and day out, month after month after month, your body gets used to doing that same thing and then it no longer adapts. So people, you've probably heard of plateauing before, where people reach kind of a certain zone or fitness level and then they just kind of steady out. And that's because they're not changing up what they're doing when they're coming into the gym.
So it's nice to learn the machine so you're not going to hurt yourself.
Exactly.
And then also you're going to know what you're doing so you're not just like for me, I remember going to a gym before, I felt like I was just wasting time.
Yeah.
You know?
And I see it all the time, people coming in that, again, don't have a lot of experience in the gym and they just kind of come around and they just kind of look around, maybe do a couple things that they've seen on TV before, and then they leave, and a lot of those people never come back.
Right.
So when you do have that knowledge coming in, for example, for yourself, I've, like you mentioned, put a program together for you so that when you're coming in, you have a program that you can follow, and you just have to do that. You don't have to worry about what anyone else is doing or what anybody else is, if they're looking at you, it doesn't matter because you've got your program and you're kind of in your own little world.
Yeah.
So.
And what I find is like I come usually at the same time, so it's the same people, but no one cares. Like no one's looking at each other, no one's paying attention. Sometimes you say hello, but that's literally it. Exactly. I think you're more concerned with what you're doing than anybody.
We've been in here for half an hour with cameras and not a single person has looked at us.
That's true. So I was asking you before about what do you feel is, say, the most concern when people come to you and they're like, I'm gonna guess people say, I want to lose weight, or I want to, get bulky, or I don't know.
Yeah, definitely the biggest one for myself is weight loss. Yeah. And that's just a very common goal. And what I like to, not that there's anything wrong with a goal of weight loss, I think that's very important for obvious health benefits. But what tends to happen when people focus on losing weight is they want instant results. So if they're working out for a week and they hop on the scale, and in some cases maybe they see the scale go up a little bit, well, it discourages them, and then they think, well, what's even the point? I may as well just go back to what I was doing before. So when people put too much emphasis on that weight loss, I find that like I said, people get a little bit discouraged and they end up kind of almost going backwards. So what I like to do is I like to shift people's goals kind of towards something else. So maybe that would be going up the stairs without losing your breath, or being able to lift more weight, or do more push-ups, or hold a longer plank. And by gearing your goals towards those other things, weight loss becomes a byproduct of that healthy lifestyle that hopefully you're trying to work towards.
Now, the next person that I want to introduce you to is Rose. She is the owner and operator of Reflections Yoga, and she is someone who I knew I wanted to get on this episode to talk about fitness, because I feel like yoga doesn't necessarily get like a bad rap, but I feel like a lot of people find it very intimidating, or maybe don't understand how beneficial it can be. It has helped my husband Jeremy so much so that I brought him into this interview as well. Let's take a look. I feel that there is so much, I don't want to say stigma. I think people find yoga very intimidating. People are always surprised to hear that I do it. How do you sort of explain it to people who are kind of wanting to try it, but a little bit intimidated?
I think you're right. I think people definitely have an idea in their own mind of what yoga is. And I mean, yoga can be a lot of different things. And you can make it what you want it to be, or what you need it to be. I think a lot of people think you need to be flexible already, female, clad in brand name clothing to do yoga, and that's just not the case. You can be anybody. You can be completely inflexible. You can be 80. You can be, 8. So I think it's really open to anybody. And I think that people don't think that. I think that it's only for a certain segment of the population, and that's just not true. And then I think also people think that, there's only one type of yoga, and there's literally hundreds, maybe thousands. I've never counted them, but and so you need to find the style of yoga that's right for you. If you need something gentle, there's gentle. If you're looking for more of a workout, there's more vigorous types of yoga. But I think that's the key, is just being brave enough to kind of dive in, find a style of yoga that's good for you, and find a studio that fits you. Every studio has their own sort of niche, I think, and personality. And you've got to find one that makes you feel comfortable.
What would you say is the main reason that a lot of people come here first? Is it pain? Is it mental health?
I guess it's a little bit of both, because obviously yoga can be both for the mind and body. So sometimes people are looking to heal an injury or gain flexibility. Sometimes age creeps up and they realize they're losing the ability to do certain things. Sometimes it's athletes, like we have NHL players that come and they realize that maybe that's missing out of their sort of training regimen, is some mobility, which obviously we're a little jaded and biased, but it's true. And sometimes it's more of a mental thing. People are obviously, as you know, we live in a pretty busy world, stressed out, constantly on the go. This is a place where they can come, and really the only thing you're supposed to do in this rectangular room is just do yoga. So I think they like the feeling that they can come here and literally when they walk in those doors kind of leave their troubles behind. That's kind of the idea. So to get some relief from that just go, go, go mentality. So a little bit of mental, a little bit of physical, and I think it really, if you ask somebody who walked in the door, it would be a bit of both. Sometimes more one than the other, but.
Right. And you were saying there's maybe, thousands of variations of yoga. What are the ones that you say maybe would be the most accessible for a newbie?
Well, if I have somebody that comes in brand new, I usually steer them towards what we have. We offer classes that are gentle and mellow, and I usually send them to those ones first. Only because I feel like better to start off with something that's way too easy as opposed to way too hard. So just try those, see how your body reacts, how you feel, get to know like some of the postures and things like that. And then if you feel pretty brave after that, move on to, we do a lot of hot yoga here. Not just hot yoga, but we also do what we call flow yoga, which is a little more sort of physically involved. But like I say, if you start off slow and then progress towards something that's a little harder, like the flow classes, you'll always wind up feeling positive as opposed to coming into a class where you just feel like a fish out of water. So yeah, our signature classes are definitely the heated classes and the flow classes.
What's the benefit of hot yoga? That's always been an interesting one. Because it's quite popular, right?
It is popular for sure, and not all hot yoga is the same. There's certainly your Bikram style yoga, which we don't do here, but so the idea is just you heat the room with infrared, and you're getting the benefit of sort of heating your body from many different angles. So obviously you're moving, you're getting the heat going from the inside, but also from the outside. And it just makes you feel a little more limber. Your muscles are a little more willing to sort of bend in certain ways. For that reason, you have to be a little more careful because, you know, none of us are Gumby. We need to be careful and aware of the fact that, you know, our bodies only go certain ways. But that's kind of the idea. And it does obviously mean that you sweat more than you would in a non-heated class. So people like that feeling, that sort of, you know, let's flush out the system, let's get the body sweating. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's a fun one. I mean, I definitely sweat a lot when I do it.
You and me both. You and me both. And that's the idea is that, yeah, just get in here, get working hard, get sweaty. Yeah.
Do you get a lot of men in here?
Definitely more women than men, but I have to say, as the years have gone on, we do get more men that are willing to dip in and try. And often men will ask, you know, do you have a men-only class? And unfortunately, because of the just demographic in Penticton, our men's classes, men-only classes have never been successful.
Interesting.
But we often have at least one or maybe 2, 3, 4 men that do come to class. So again, I think that's a part of the stigmatism is that it's not sort of a masculine thing to do. But like I said, I think as people get a little more awareness of the fact that it's not just for women, that it can be good for men, we start to see more of them for sure.
And I mean, if NHL players are doing it, come on.
Well,
they're pretty masculine.
People, they are pretty masculine, I have to say. No, I mean, if it's good for them, it could be good for anybody else. But no, it's true. I think it's just feeling okay coming into maybe a room that's got more ladies than men.
Right.
Yeah.
I've heard there's a new thing that's like beer yoga. Have you heard of this?
I have heard of beer yoga. Yes,
Maybe that'll get them in.
There's all kinds of catchy things to sort of bring more people into the mix. And beer yoga, we used to do yoga at one of the wineries where you had lunch, some wine, some yoga. I'm not sure which order they did it in, but you know, whatever.
That sounds great.
Whatever gets somebody through that sort of first, you know, initial class.
And I would definitely recommend coming to a place like Reflections instead of just starting out by doing, you know, say a YouTube video. That's a concern, I think. You don't want to hurt yourself. It'd be quite easy to tweak something, come in, you know, see the professionals and do it in a safe environment.
It's true, and you can't sort of take away the fact that it's always nice to have that human interaction. Sometimes, honestly, that's also what people come for. It's just that we live in a world where often we're sitting in front of a screen, we're on the phone constantly, and so it's nice to leave that stuff outside the studio. And I mean, some people it's hard for people because you are in a room with other people and other bodies, but at least you have that sort of energy exchange. And like I said, it's always nice to have an instructor I mean, we do our best also to kind of make sure that people aren't doing things to hurt themselves. You know, YouTube is fantastic, and like I say, it makes yoga accessible to literally everybody. But always nice to pop into a class so that you can get that sort of, you know, feedback.
So talking about sitting at a desk all day, Rose is going to show us some stretches that might be good. I know a lot of people, that's a big complaint, right, is sitting at your computer all day. And my husband Jeremy just happens to be here as well, and he is a male who has been doing yoga for a few years now, so we're going to chat with him. So we're still here at Reflections, and like I was saying, I wanted to bring my husband Jeremy out because you've been doing yoga for how long now?
It's been about 2 years. I was one of those people that Rose was referencing, like, you should start with a mellow class, a gentle class, because when I first called and asked, I was like, do you have like a pre-beginner class?
And what made you want to start to do yoga?
Well, it was to like fix injuries. Like my doctor recommended. I had a whole bunch of, you know, like neck and legs and wrists. I was sore, it seemed like head to toe, and my doctor recommended that I come and give it a try, that hopefully the stretching would help the injuries heal.
Because we were pretty close to you having to have like carpal tunnel surgery. That was being discussed, right?
Yeah. So it was getting pretty scary there for a while, wondering how I was going to fix some of these things. But I started to notice a huge difference pretty quickly too.
And how did you find starting?
Well, like the first class was, I guess it was like weird walking in because I was wondering, like, am I going to be the only guy? And you know, I didn't know the first thing about yoga, but what was really nice was I told them ahead of time, like, hey, this is my first time. So the teacher was really nice, and you know, she said like, okay, no, I'll watch you and make sure you know you're not doing something wrong or whatever. So I didn't get scared off right away. I started coming like twice a week, and I've been coming like twice a week for 2 years. I mean, yeah, sometimes I'm the only guy, but I that does not bother me one bit.
Right.
So.
And one thing I remember, I think it was probably your first ever class, you came home and said, that was the first time my mind's been quiet in months.
Yeah, that wasn't why I came, but it ended up being a big benefit too, was just for mental health as well, because at that point I was going through a real tough time, and my mind was just going like 100 miles an hour like all the time. And that very first class, I remember it was like the first time my mind had just like calmed down for the first time, and as long as I could remember. And I remember being so excited to tell the teacher that afterwards. So I say yoga for me is good for my mind and my body.
So if there's guys watching right now thinking like, I could probably really benefit from it, but I'm very intimidated, what would you say?
Get over it. Really, like, yes, there's always more women in here, but you're welcome. Like, I've never felt like shunned or like, oh, what's that guy doing in here, you know? Or it's just cool. Like, I would not worry about it one bit.
And what kinds of classes do you do?
Well, I have like one that is, would fall under the like gentle yoga. It's a flow class, but it's a lot more chill. And then there's another one that I do that isn't, I guess, technically yoga. It's like a rolling class. So we use these like foam rollers and like roll out all your like aches and pains. And like there's a little bit of yoga involved. And then like there's also some like rubber balls that we use like on like our back and like our feet and stuff. And that one is just amazing. And that's one of my favorites. That's one I've been doing since the very, very beginning. Right. So that's another option for you too. So if maybe the word yoga is scaring the guys off, well, that class, that's roll class Sunday mornings, you know, that's not technically yoga, so.
And then now you've been doing it for a couple years. I know it's really helped your mental health and your anxiety. What physical changes have you noticed?
Well, just a lot of like for example, you were saying like my wrists, I'm like worrying about like carpal tunnel surgery. Like that's just not an issue anymore, as long as I, you know, just keep doing the stretches. Or like, for example, like when I first came here, I could probably like bend over and touch my knees. Whereas like now I can bend over and touch my toes, just touch the floor, right. Like no problem. So all that extra stretching and flexibility has really done wonders, because there's all sorts of muscle aches and pains that I used to have that, you know, I don't have anymore because I regularly do yoga, and it keeps them feeling good.
I know many of you watching at home probably sit a lot, sit at a desk, sit on your phone, sit at your computer, maybe in your vehicle. Rose is going to come back and demonstrate with Jeremy some very simple exercises that you can do to help alleviate some of those pains.
So we're going to do a little demonstration. Our lives these days are often spent sort of hunched over on our phones, on our computers. So we got talking a little bit about the effects of that on your body. We're going to demonstrate. Jeremy's been kind enough to be our model. Demonstrate a few postures to sort of unwind some of those daily things that we sort of get stuck in. So the first one we're going to talk about or have Jeremy demonstrate is just one for the neck and shoulders. Obviously, again, we're often spent sort of doing this. It creates tension in through the neck and the shoulders. So just, Jeremy, if you want to sort of reach your left arm in front of your body and then kind of hook on. And then just tip your head over the opposite way to get some stretching in through here, in back through here. The back side of the body tends to get overused because it's always in this position. So if you start to stretch that out, it'll unwind a little bit. And usually holding postures for you know, in the yoga world, we talk about breaths, but just, you know, anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds would be great. And to add some breathing would be fantastic as well. But just to kind of be patient, to hold it, and then if you want to do the other side as well. Same thing, just reaching it over, squeezing it in, and then tipping your head the other way. And then again, if you want to time yourself, you could do that, or just do some gentle inhaling and exhaling while you do it. And then the next one we're going to talk about or demonstrate is just one for the chest. Again, just because we spend so much time hunched over, these muscles in here tend to not get stretched or used enough. So to interlace your fingers behind your body and then just start to sort of pull the knuckles down towards the floor. So you can really start to feel, you can start to feel really just an unwinding of those muscles. And you can do that frequently throughout the day, just to, again, sort of counterbalance those positions that we get stuck in. So upper body, wrists are another one, because obviously we do lots of typing or texting, one or the other. So just, again, some really sort of short but focused wrist stretches. So just, pulling back on the fingers. Again, you sort of feel that counter stretch. Working in this position activates all these muscles, but we don't stretch them. So
yeah, I can feel it going up my arms, and those are, when I was having problems with like carpal tunnel and stuff, those are the muscles that were...
Well, and sometimes we wonder like, oh, why is my body starting to feel this way? Well, if you looked at your day and sort of said, well, I'm doing this for however many hours a day, we can only expect that our body is eventually going to start to feel the effects. So wrists, those are really good ones. And then moving on to the lower body, I think sitting, again, same thing. Your hips and your hamstrings tend to get kind of locked in that L position. So just really simple forward fold. So just think of your hips kind of hinging and tipping yourself forward. And this one is a huge one, again, just because you're getting upside down, which has its positive effects. You're getting into the hamstrings to stretch those. And like I say, just literally kind of unwinding the backside of the body. Your legs are spent in an L, or stuck in an L position like this throughout the day. So getting that sort of straightening in through the backside of the legs. And just the biggest one here is to not care about how far you can reach, although that will eventually change. If you do it frequently enough, you'll eventually get to your toes, but that's not the whole point. The whole point is to just fold forward, breathe, stay there for a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I would do at work all the time, because it feels so nice, because like your neck and like your arms start to stress out without doing anything, just by holding them there, they just start to stretch out.
And you could do that one and add a little something for the shoulders as well. So you could fold forward and then just grab opposite elbows. Same thing, kind of doing, grab opposite elbows, one to kind of, again, unwind the shoulders. So there's a million different stretches that you can do. I think the biggest thing is to make sure that you can do them within the space that you have at work. Obviously, these ones don't require any special props. So keeping it simple, being willing to stay there for a little bit, perfect. And then just breathing while you're doing them. Eventually, we'll start to get rid of the office body effects.
I hope this episode has encouraged you to get moving, try something new, try yoga if you're someone who's dealing with pain, or if you are having, a lot of anxiety or stress. It can really do wonders. And I also find that eating well makes a huge difference. When I'm not eating well, I can tell in my body, I can tell in my mood, I just feel tired. And something that our family loves, so much so that we had it for dinner on Christmas Eve last year, is pad thai. So here's my super simple pad thai recipe. Starting out with some onion and garlic, just gonna saute in here. I put in half a teaspoon of coconut oil, but I highly recommend you try and use no oil, period, when you're cooking, just a little bit of water. I just felt like I felt like adding a little bit of oil, but I've been doing really well, probably in the last 4 months, hardly using any. And not only does it save you money, but it's just better for you. So we're just gonna let these saute. And then I'm getting some water boiling ready for the noodles. Now I've added celery and the carrots, and to be totally honest, I don't measure ever really. So this is 2 celery stalks and 2 carrots just chopped, and then we've got the noodles in here cooking. I'll show you the package. Here are the noodles. They are rice noodles, so they're gluten-free. So you'll see there's 2 packs, like 2 layers. I use half for pad thai for the 2 of us. This is the tofu. It says pressed. I also enjoy extra firm, but you can get whatever sort of firmness you like. Side note, I always rinse the tofu and then I just dry it off in a paper towel. They'll talk a lot in different cookbooks about how you need to press all the water out. I've never seen that to be necessary, honestly. The sauce for pad thai is really easy. It's just lime juice, and then I use peanut butter and sriracha. The recipe calls for sugar. I don't use sugar. This is one of my favorite tools of the kitchen, I will say. You can use it for limes or lemons, like to squeeze the juice in. It just makes it so much easier. Just a fun fact if you ever want to up your kitchen game or just make your life easier. One of the toppings calls for crushed peanuts or cashews, and I just happen to have cashews. This is a Jeremy trick, so you take the cashews, and then you take a paper towel, and then you take a rolling pin, and then if you roll it over, it crushes the cashews. Magic. As you can see, I've added the tofu, the noodles, and the sauce, and I'm just sort of letting it all meld together, and then we'll plate it. And as you can tell, way too much for just the 2 of us. It's fun to put toppings on pad thai, so cilantro is a favorite, some lime, some green onions, and then these are the crushed cashews. I also feel like sprouts are necessary on the top of pad thai. I will say, I feel like sprouts have a very short shelf life, so like when you buy them, make sure that you're gonna use them like that day or the next couple of days. I don't know what it is, but they just seem to have a short shelf life, but they're so worth it. And there is the vegan pad thai. Super easy, really healthy, really filling, and totally vegan. Let me know if you make that pad thai. Tag me on social media. I would love to see it. Like I said, we make it all the time. That's it for this week's episode of the Marathon here on Shaw TV. You can find me at redheadmare.com, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for watching.